Good evening, everyone. Tonight, I want to share something truly personal, something that goes beyond politics, beyond headlines, beyond what the world assumes about power and privilege. It's about faith, about family, and about courage, the kind of courage it takes to follow your heart, even when the world is watching every step you take. Many stories are told about people like us, stories filled with opinions, speculations, and assumptions. But very few truly understand the heart behind those decisions. When my father, the President of the United States, spoke with honesty about my journey of faith, he didn't just make a confession. He opened a window into something sacred, the bond between a father and daughter, the respect between two people who might not share the same beliefs, but share the same love. And that love, that understanding, is what I want you to feel tonight. Because this isn't just a story about me. This is about you. About all of us. About the quiet battles we face when we decide to stand for what we truly believe in. When I chose to embrace Judaism, it wasn't easy. It meant devotion, discipline, and the humility to begin again. But it also meant peace, a peace that comes from finding truth that feels like home. I've learned that faith isn't something you wear. It's something you live. It's the rhythm of your actions, the sincerity in your words, the way you treat people, especially those who don't understand you. So tonight, as you listen, I want to invite you not just to hear my story, but to reflect on your own. Ask yourself, what do I believe in deeply enough to defend? What am I willing to transform for, to grow for, to love for? Because this is more than a confession from a president. This is more than a journey of a daughter. This is a moment about truth, about embracing who you are meant to be, and allowing your faith, your values, and your heart to align. Stay with me tonight, because by the end of this message, I promise, you'll see that sometimes, the greatest act of strength is not standing against the world, but standing firmly within your truth. When my father spoke those words, it wasn't planned, it wasn't scripted, and it certainly wasn't political. It was honest. It came from a place of truth, the kind of truth that sometimes catches you off guard, because it carries the weight of love and the tenderness of understanding. I remember hearing his confession, and for a moment, time felt still. It wasn't about approval or disapproval. It was about acknowledgement. It was a moment where a parent looked beyond the differences of belief and saw only the soul of his child. He spoke not as a president addressing a nation, but as a father addressing the world through the language of love. That confession wasn't about faith alone, it was about acceptance. And that's what made it powerful. It was an unspoken message to millions of families out there who struggle to understand one another's choices, reminding them that love doesn't have to be conditional. It can exist fully even when our paths look different. For many people, faith is a label, something that fits neatly into a category. But for me, faith has always been a journey, a deeply personal evolution of the spirit. It's something that cannot be forced, cannot be taught, and cannot be handed down like an heirloom. It must be discovered, felt, and lived. And when my father recognized that journey, when he spoke of it publicly with sincerity and warmth, it felt like he wasn't just speaking about me, he was speaking for every person who's ever chosen to stand in their truth, even when it wasn't easy. What makes that moment unforgettable is not just what he said, but the heart behind it. There was vulnerability in his tone, something rare, especially for a man known for his strength and boldness. It revealed a side of him that the world rarely sees, a father, quietly proud of his daughter's conviction, yet aware of the courage it takes to walk a path that's not always understood. He didn't speak as a politician defending a decision, he spoke as a human being embracing love over judgment. The reaction from people around the world was overwhelming. Some were surprised, others deeply moved. Many saw it as a gesture of respect, a powerful reminder that understanding between generations, between faiths, and even between ideologies is possible. In a time when society often divides itself into labels and camps, that confession stood as a symbol of unity. It told the world that it's okay to be different, that it's okay to believe differently, and that love has no borders when it's pure. When I think back on that moment, I don't think about the cameras or the headlines. I think about the quiet meaning behind it. I think about how many parents and children around the world might have felt seen in that instant. Maybe there was a father who had struggled to accept his son's choices, or a mother who couldn't understand her daughter's beliefs, and maybe, just maybe, hearing those words softened something inside them. Maybe they realized that accept. Faith, for me, has never been about labels or appearances. It's about the quiet moments that shape your soul, the ones that no one sees, the ones where you wrestle with yourself and find peace not through perfection, but through understanding. The journey of faith is deeply personal. It's about listening to that still, small voice within you that tells you what's right for your spirit, even when the world around you is loud and full of opinions. When I made my choice, I knew it would come with questions, with curiosity, and even with misunderstanding. But I also knew it was the right path for me. I wasn't searching for attention, I was searching for meaning. I wasn't trying to prove something, I was trying to find something real, something that anchored me, that gave depth to my days and purpose to my actions. That search led me to a faith that taught me humility, discipline, and gratitude in the purest form. What people often forget is that transformation doesn't happen overnight. It's not a switch you flip, it's a process of unlearning and learning, of falling and standing again. Every prayer, every ritual, every quiet moment of reflection brought me closer to understanding that faith isn't just a set of rules, it's a relationship between the heart and the divine. It teaches you to pause, to reflect, to treat people with kindness even when it's difficult, and to see the beauty in simplicity. There were moments of challenge, of course. There were times I felt the weight of expectation, the scrutiny of eyes trying to interpret something that wasn't theirs to understand. But through it all, I found strength and consistency, in knowing that the truth of my faith lived not in words, but in the way I carried myself, in the way I treated others, in how I tried to bring peace and balance into every space I entered. Faith has a way of refining you. It strips away the unnecessary and teaches you to value what truly matters. It reminds you that grace isn't found in perfection, it's found in sincerity. I learned that to live faithfully doesn't mean to be flawless, it means to keep striving to align your heart with your actions. It means to live with purpose, even when no one is watching. I remember how this journey also strengthened my sense of family. It brought us closer through understanding, through shared respect, through the recognition that love is far greater than any difference in belief. When your faith is real, it doesn't isolate you from those you love, it makes you love them even more. It makes you patient, empathetic, and willing to listen. It opens your eyes to see that every person's path is sacred, that everyone's spiritual story is written differently, yet all carry the same longing for peace. Every time I reflect on how far I've come, I realize that the most powerful part of this journey wasn't the destination, it was the courage it took to begin. To start something new in a world that often resists change is not easy. One of the most beautiful realizations I've had through this journey is that faith, in its purest form, is never meant to divide us. It's meant to connect us. It's meant to remind us that, no matter where we come from or what we believe in, there's a common thread that runs through all of humanity, the desire to live with meaning, the longing to be seen, and the need to belong. I've seen how faith, when lived with humility and respect, can bring people closer, even when they pray in different ways or call the divine by different names. There's a quiet strength in being able to honor your own beliefs while also respecting the beliefs of others. That balance doesn't come from convincing someone to think like you, it comes from understanding them, from listening with empathy, from seeing the beauty in difference. When we approach one another with curiosity instead of judgment, something transformative happens. Walls begin to fall. Misunderstandings soften. Compassion grows in places where criticism once stood. I remember realizing that respect doesn't mean agreement, it means love in action. It means saying, I may not walk your path, but I honor your right to walk it. That kind of respect takes courage because it asks you to let go of pride and embrace humility. It asks you to see beyond labels, beyond traditions, and look directly into the heart of a person, where the divine spark lives in all of us. This world often tells us that difference is a threat, that what we don't understand must somehow be opposed. But the truth is, difference is what gives the world its depth. Imagine a world where everyone believed exactly the same, spoke exactly the same, thought exactly the same. It would be empty of wonder, of discovery, of growth. The beauty of humanity lies in its diversity, of thought, of belief, of expression. And when we learn to see that diversity as strength instead of separation, we begin to live with a sense of unity that no argument can destroy. When my faith became a defining part of my life, I didn't feel that it took me away from others, I felt that it drew me closer to understanding them. It helped me appreciate that every faith, at its core, teaches compassion, gratitude, honesty, and peace. We might practice differently, but we all seek the same essence, a connection with something greater than ourselves. And when we recognize that shared purpose, we find common ground that goes deeper than doctrine. It's easy to look at what divides us, but it takes real wisdom to see what unites us. That's what respect for religious diversity is truly about. It's not about comparison, it's about connection. It's not about changing others, it's about learning from them. Every encounter with someone of a different belief is an opportunity to expand your heart. It's a chance to see the divine reflected in another person's eyes and to understand that love, truth, and kindness aren't exclusive to any single path. I've often felt that when faith, family, and legacy, these three words have guided me through the most defining moments of my life. They've reminded me that success isn't measured by titles or recognition but by the values you uphold and the love you leave behind. Faith gives you strength, family gives you purpose, and together, they form a legacy that outlives circumstance and time. That's what I've learned, that who you are in private matters more than what you appear to be in public. True character isn't built under the spotlight, it's shaped in silence, in the decisions you make when no one is watching, in the way you carry your integrity even when it's tested. When my faith deepened, so did my understanding of legacy. I realized that legacy isn't about wealth, power, or influence, it's about the example you set. It's the story you write with your actions, the impact you leave on the people who cross your path. A kind word, a moment of grace, a choice to forgive when it's easier to judge, those are the things that live on long after we're gone. Because at the end of everything, people might forget what you said, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. There's a quiet beauty in living with intention, in knowing that everything you do can carry meaning. The way you treat others, the way you stand up for what's right, the way you hold on to faith even when life challenges you, that's what builds a legacy of substance. And for me, that legacy began at home, with family. Family is where we learn love in its rawest form, sometimes imperfect, sometimes messy, but always real. It's where we learn forgiveness, where we learn patience, and where we learn that no matter how different we may be, love finds its way through. Through my own journey, I've come to understand that leadership starts with love. Not the kind of love that is spoken about lightly, but the kind that sacrifices, that listens, that protects without pride. True leadership isn't about standing above others, it's about standing with them. It's about using whatever platform or privilege you've been given to lift people higher, to show them that strength can coexist with kindness, and that empathy is not a weakness but a form of wisdom. We live in a world that celebrates power, but I believe what the world truly needs is presence, people who lead with their hearts, who carry honesty in their actions and humility in their victories. When my father spoke with such honesty about my faith, it reminded me that leadership can also look like vulnerability. It can look like acknowledging that love and understanding are greater than pride. That confession wasn't just an act of acceptance, it was a display of humanity, the reminder that behind every title, every name, every face in power, there's a person with emotions, with relationships, with stories that shape who they are. That's the kind of legacy I want to live, one that honors truth and humanity. One that says it's okay to evolve, to change, to